Good morning, everyone. My name is Louise and I'm Workforce Development Lead at the Powys Health Board. And I'm just going to give you a very quick whistle-stop tour around the competence-based credit pathway that we devise. The credit pathway is mainly geared towards ensuring healthcare support workers have the skills, knowledge and attitudes that are required for their roles. But later on we can see that it may have other usages as well. So I had this idea sort of float around in my head for a little while, and then I got the opportunity to work with our two community nursing team managers for North and South Powys to actually sort of give it a try and see if it did have potential. And we were employing new Band 3 community nursing support workers to extend the service into the evening, and we wanted to really maximise the scope of that Band 3 role. We wanted to make sure the role was very clear to those workers themselves and to the rest of the team as to what their role was in the team. And we wanted to put together a very clear pathway of development for them, so we made sure they had the skills that they needed, in the appropriate order, and that competency was assured as well. Sorry, I haven't used one of these before. So we started thinking about the patients that needed the community nursing service and thinking about their needs, and then we thought about which of those needs could be met by appropriately trained Band 3 support workers. So we also referred to the career framework level descriptors and national Band 3 job profiles. We then use the Skills for Health competency tools to help us build up a list of the appropriate competencies for that role, all geared around the needs of the patients in the service. And we ended up with a group of 80 competencies, which is a bit much really, it's a bit unwieldy, so we wanted to slim it down to between 30 and 40. This one. The beauty of the National Occupational Standards is, somebody's taken the trouble to, for each sort of competency task area, to describe, what the standards are, what the accepted national standards are for that task, and all the aspects of knowledge and skills that person needs to meet that standard. So we ended up with, as I say, 80 competencies, and then we went and had lunch so we could take a break from it for a while. And then we came back and we went through all those competencies, sort of distilling them down and slimming them down. Some sort of overlap, some aren't quite right or in the right context, and we ended up with 38. We included all the core competencies in this as well, and that's something, to make it easier in the future, we don't do that anymore. We take the core competencies out, we take those as read and just concentrate on the specific competencies. That gave us a list of competencies, which gave us this column of our sort of emerging competency-based framework. And this is just 2 of them. So if you can imagine, there would be 38 in the whole competency profile for this role. And there's 2 that actually are in this role. There's one about wound care and treatments and dressings, and obtaining venous blood samples. So once we had our list of 38 competencies, we then prioritised them. Which skills did the service need those new members of staff to develop first? Then we matched the competencies to accredited learning units, and we felt it was important, if we're going to be delivering training and development for these staff, we wanted to know that they gained those competencies, so that gives us an assessment framework to assess the skills that those staff are developing, and also it gives those staff members legally recognised certificates for each unit with transferable credits as well. So it's a simple premise really. It's identifying, you know, what the competencies are, what skills and knowledge is needed, how that's going to be delivered, if there's any gaps in their knowledge and skills. Obviously, if people have already got, you can use it as a benchmark. If people have already got some areas, you don't need to concentrate on it, you can move on to others. And then it identifies the learning units which are relevant. And one of the nice things about this is it's sort of, it's very bespoke, because, you know, different, staff are working in a slightly different area in one area, or they need maybe a couple of competencies that are different. You can tailor it to exactly what's needed for the patients in that area. And that's pretty much it, really. So it then became a pathway for those new members of staff to follow, building up their knowledge and skills as they went along. But it was all prioritised, so they gave them in the right order, and then build on that. And these are just some reflections. We've done an initial evaluation, and those are reflections from healthcare support workers themselves and from one of the district nursing team leaders. And a couple of years hence now, so the time is right to do another review to see how things are going and see if we need to tweak things, or if there's any other competencies that could be added, or if there were things in there that they didn't really need, so that's our initial outcomes. But while we've been working on it, you sort of realise that if we did this, it would make the whole process easier. As I said, you could take the core competencies out and concentrate on the specific competencies. That makes the whole process a lot easier. The competence profile is really useful for KSF appraisals and reviews, because it gives you a benchmark to match against, and you can identify individuals' gaps or areas where they need extra development, and you can build their personal development plans from it. And it's a great way of actually, if you're looking to develop new roles, it's a good sort of approach really to use for new roles, and really to give some recognition and a nod to the Design for Competence project in North Wales, because that's where the idea came from, and it's the way we've used that approach in France. So that's it really.
Thank you very much, Louise. Excellent, very informative. Right, who's got a question for Louise then, please? I'm sure somebody will have something. Look at that, her silence is saying you've studied them. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jason from Paris. One question: did the fact that these particular people now had competence-based training, did that make a difference to other colleagues in the wider healthcare team? Did they feel more confident about their role? Did it impact on their duties?
Yes, it really helps the staff that they're working with, and their supervisors or their line managers. It helps the delegation process, because they are aware of the competencies that these staff have gained, and so they can sort of delegate those tasks with confidence, really, because that's one of the principles of delegation, is that you must have good reason to know that a person is competent in the areas of, of the task that you're delegating. So so it had that. That was a real plus, really. What was the rest of the question, Jason? Does that cover it?
Yeah, that was it. Just working out whether or not people actually felt better about those that are trained for this standard. I suppose as a follow-up question, has anybody who's gone through this process actually wanted to go further as a result?
Yes. There is. Yes, they do. A number of them want to go on and do the level 4 certificate, which is with University of Glamorgan. So they do seem to want to continue. But it also makes some of the other staff that they're working with, brush up their skills as well, I think. And the staff that work with them, we needed them on board as mentors and assessors as well, so it has made those people in those teams more aware of the potential and the important role that support workers can play when they've had the appropriate training and what can be delegated to them with confidence. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else, please? Thank you.
Thank you. Conrad Jones, I'm from Howell Vale. We're looking at these sort of things a bit, but I actually take a deep breath and down that road. I'm intrigued to know, do you have any sort of assessment process? I see you put people through, say, a wound healing study day. Do you have any system then to make sure, I might say test, but make sure the individual who's gone through that learning process has actually absorbed the information and is competent to safely practice it?
Yeah, absolutely. If I go back to the actual pathway, this is the bit where your assessment comes in. Because these learning units, some of them are QCF learning units, which are national in England, Northern Ireland and Wales. Some of the units, I'll pick these two because one is a quality and lifelong learning unit, and these are only available in Wales. So it's great in Wales because we've got both these types of units that we can use. We've got more scope to actually cover the whole of people's jobs with an assessment framework using all these units. So these units have assessment criteria in them, and the staff they generally have a workbook that they have to follow. They have a mentor in the workplace or mentor/assessor in the workplace, and they have tasks that they have to do. Some of them are completed on the study day, but then some of them they go away and do more research. They work with people. They work with their mentor, and they have to show. Say for the wound care, for instance, they'll have to demonstrate that they can carry out wound care to the appropriate standards, and then that will be signed off by their assessor. So yeah, absolutely, that's a key part of it really, is we don't just give them the training and then hope they picked up, we actually check it afterwards, and then the individuals get, a transferable, legally recognised certificate of credit for it as well.
Okay. Anybody else? No? Yes, thank you. Please in the front. Thank you, Tara.
Just wondered, you talked about the fact that there were 38 competencies to start off with. How many of your members of staff have you actually had to go through all the competencies? And how long does it take?
I think it's been getting on for 2 years since we started this off, and they've gone through. I think they've pretty much done all of the competencies. In some areas, if they don't need to do certain ones, they'll have left those until last, But then I guess the story continues as to, developing those people beyond that. But we haven't got any roles within Powers at the moment, so we need to look at do we need like 4 roles, for instance, before we start really sort of developing people further. We don't want to develop them if we've got nothing to offer them, So within 2 years, they covered pretty much all of the competencies, but then you can start, sort of pushing the development a bit and maybe, sort of adding some extra ones on with a view to them moving on, or moving into other roles. As I say, we haven't got those other roles yet. Does that answer the question?
Okay. Thank you. I've got two questions, if I may. One was, did you have support workers prior to starting this? And if so, could they access it as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we did. And a lot of the support workers have done level 3 MBQ in health and social care in the past. But the units that they've done in that, some of them matched into this, but there were areas that they hadn't covered with their MBQ, so they were encouraged to be involved in this, and they could add in, say if they hadn't done take venous blood samples in their MBQ, they could do it with this and bolt it on to their existing MBQ. Yeah.
Thank you. And the second question was in relation to sort of people acting as their mentors or supervisors. Do they have some sort of support or training to enable them to support these individuals?
Yes, they did. Most of the mentors already mentor students, so they've got those sort of assessments and skills, but they also had extra training so that they understood how these particular units work, and all the paperwork and the records that they have to keep and everything, and how to sort of adapt assessments, if necessary to meet particular learners' needs. And then they had an internal verifier which is allocated, sort of to each area and each sort of group of units as well. So there was support through that, through the internal verifiers as well.
Thank you very much. If nobody has got any further questions, we'll let Louise escape. So thank you very much.